Everyone to the special meeting here at the ARBC office on Shirley Forest Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Today is December the 18th, 2024, and it's 1 p.m. We stand and do the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Lane, can you lead us?
I believe the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Ms. Gotro, can you do a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Byrd? Absent. Clark?
Present.
Mr. Whitmore?
Present.
Mr. Delat?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Yeah, Pete Dufresne plays over Pete Dufresne.
Present.
Thank you. Yes. Ms. Polito? Present. Mr. Harrell? Harris?
Here.
Mr. Gary O'Neill?
I'm here.
Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Rayford?
Here.
All right, is Brian Lazina here
Mm,
for CPRA?
He may come later, but he's not
Okay.
here now.
Ed Knight for
Here.
DOTD?
Here.
And we have Randy Cluey here for PLD.
Here.
All right, we have quorum, thank y'all.
Okay, any public comments? All right, here no problem. Working through our agenda number 5. And it's consideration of the selection of Paul Sawyer as executive director.
Just as
Professional service. Consideration of the selection of Paul Sawyer for professional services as recommended by the ARBC Executive Officers Professional Service Contract. And, everybody, hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at the contract. Some changes were made since, you received the copy. And, some of the wording was removed, such as, removing the titling as executive director. We felt it was best that this be a professional services contract to do all of those duties, include of and more. So, we felt that professional services would be the way to go. So, he would be hired as a contractor, providing professional services.
Would he, excuse me, Mr. President, would he assume the duties as the director, basically?
Everything is spelled out, all of
Yeah.
the duties
Yeah,
are
I
spelled
know.
out in the scope. If you do the wording or the math, it comes out to that.
Yeah.
Yes, of what those duties would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd like everyone to refer to the resume here. It's in your packet. You can see, Mr. Sawyer has an extensive, experience. I mean, it's no question who he is and who he works for. And, he's from here in the Capital Region, Baton Rouge. Lived here all his life. And, has been involved directly, indirectly, Kobe River diversion, and so on and so forth. And, so this may be an opportunity for him to come work on more on a local level, specifically for ARBC. But, you can look at his experience. It speaks for itself. This board, the configuration, I always say it is phenomenal. And I make this reference as, we have, the way we're organized is like we've been given a Cadillac, but we don't have no gas, to go and run up and down the basin and do the things that we would like to do and know what needs to be done. We're looking for an individual that can help us do that. We've been creative up to this point, leveraging funds from different programs, state, federal funds. We need something more sustainable if we're gonna get where we wanna be and meet this, legislative Act 490, which created this board. So, this individual, can hopefully get us there. Anybody wanna have any comments here or suggestions in this regard or speak out And, that's what we're here for today, is to talk openly about this selection or, for selection. Any public comments? Ms. Valito?
I had a couple of questions.
Yes.
This contract, it's with him as an individual as opposed to being a staff member? Is it an individual, is it with a company he's an owner of, or is it him as an individual?
He will have, a company, an LLC, perhaps, and, he will be a contractor.
So if if this were to happen, a check would be made to his company or to him? Because this says his name, I was just a little confused.
Larry?
Right, him individually.
Him and it could be revised as needed or
Yeah,
something?
this is all draft, so that's
Right.
why we're here to flesh this out and get a consensus on
Right.
what makes us feel good. That's a good point.
I think if he's the president of this, still write it to him or the company, either way.
Right.
Preferably to the company though.
I'm curious, and then is it, if it were a staff member, the benefits of paid holidays and insurance, that's not.
He's not a state employee.
He's a 1099 employee.
Contracted.
Okay.
He does not participate in lasers and does not participate.
What is that?
Next week, maybe? Or
I haven't one in years, I just wondered.
no Christmas Day?
So, all right,
I was just asking, I
Okay.
was trying to wrap my head around it.
just,
when would he start?
okay. We're looking at this January 4th.
You know, as the longest tenured board member, seeing your resume come across the board, I know we got somebody here, with this resume as a contracting career, we thought you to do that. You're in a good position.
I've got one question, so is it just 250 total, does it have a vehicle and everything involved on top of that, or that's all
He
his,
needs to,
with that amount of money?
Yes.
All right.
Insurance, retirement, that's all.
Meals, anything, that's all included in that?
Going to Washington, wherever.
That's it.
So when he's on, say Washington, which is a good choice of words, so there's no coverage, this corporation to,
I'm gonna refer to, my legal counsel and, my vice president.
What's the question?
The question is there any additional compensation above the 250 for any type of expense account, if he's doing business or lunches, meetings or anything on our behalf? We're not gonna take care of that?
It's not included at this point.
I mean, can we consider, providing some type of?
If he came and said, look, I got a meeting in Washington, we'd have to approve that as an additional expense. There's no set expense account where he just turns the expense account every
Right.
month and reimbursing.
No car allowance.
that's right, Jack, that's basically,
Yeah.
that's all I
But it
want to
could
clear
happen.
up.
President Quinlan.
So obviously we need to add that language in here about expenses and request and how that operates in Councilman.
Yeah, I think it'd be important we add that, it doesn't reflect that at all, and I don't think that'd be fair to, him to have to assume all of those expenses.
But I would like to approve prior to,
There you go.
as a typical employee.
Yeah,
Commissioner Hill.
I agree, he really needs to be compensated for travel and stuff like that. However, I think there needs to be a minimum that's sitting there. I mean, for instance, I got a call the other day at noon. I had to be in DC the next morning for a meeting at 9 a.m. Do we really want him to be working a grant program and, the ability to go take a meeting that would stop us from, getting 50 million? I mean, I took off the other day, I had one meeting in DC and ended up with $81 million for my client. Not made it there, it would not happen. So I don't want that to stop him from getting funding for this commission.
Right, I mean, and it wasn't my intention that he has been checking book with an expense account, but I just think it needs to reflect some additional expense.
Commissioner Rayford.
I just would say, number one, that I do believe that he ought to be entitled to some expenditures for travel, particularly when seeking revenue for the in the River Basin Commission. I mean, that is cool, we just talked about that, but as a backup, we also need to let, every time everybody spends $1, we gotta make sure we're recouping those monies back as much as possible too, and I think that needs to be a decision.
I mean, we can determine what's reimbursable and what's not. I think it'd be,
Okay, so maybe some direction.
Well, one of the things you could consider is the adoption of the travel rules and regulations of the state.
PPM 49 is usually a pretty good steps path. Doesn't really cover the emergency travel type stuff really well, but
I don't think this board is gonna deny someone reimbursement for something that's
legit.
legit. But I think you simply say that you're adopting the travel requirements and regulations set by the state. It fixes,
Yeah.
you know, you can't.
email can take care of it.
You can't go to the Four Seasons, but you can't fly first class. I mean, those are some of the things that are in there. So that'd be my suggestion.
And he's been in government for 35, 40 years, so he
He knows.
understands all that anyway.
I'll add something on
Commissioner Whitmore?
So the billing and the invoicing, I saw an email, so I'm not gonna take credit for it, but it still is not fixed. Unless that was adjusted on one I didn't see. So it's paid by month, but it's invoiced monthly. I don't know. Maybe you need to have some corrective language there.
Well, how would y'all like to, normally, special service contract is billed month.
Yeah.
But do you want to have him have to wait a month to get paid, or paid on the 1st of 15th? There's gonna be some direction of how y'all want to do
I
it.
think bi-monthly is,
Leave that was fine and invoicing by monthly.
I mean, it all comes out to the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, invoice bi-monthly?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That way it kind of holds you accountable where you at and what you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Park, you had something to say?
Yes.
Commissioner Trulita?
Is this 40 hours a week? Or is this hourly, or is it lump sum?
If you look at the last page 7,
And I apologize,
the last bullet, contractor agrees to devote their full-time efforts to the performance of the service outlined in the agreement and to prioritize the interests of ARBC during the term of the agreement.
So it's not 40 hours.
So hopefully it's 60 or 70.
70.
80.
I tell you what, we've run into
$600.
sometimes before with the hourly, that can pile on if we're gonna, that salary, break it down by 2,080, break it into an hourly, and what, you get more like a employee.
Again, this is not an employee.
yes, right.
It's contract. It's the difference when you get a regular employee.
If it takes more time than 40 hours a week to do the services that are listed here, that's what it is.
He used to do it.
That's not gonna be a problem for Paul Sawyer.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a not to exceed or hourly, or what does he submit invoicing?
I would take it easy on him, seriously. I'd throw something in there, 120 hours a week or less.
Commissioner,
That would be a break for us.
time, then we proceed to hire Mr. Paul Sawyer to make this third contract.
Second. Is there any public comment?
is there any public comment? Hearing none, everybody, I have a motion by Commissioner Bailey and second by Commissioner Parker. Roll call, Tony?
All right. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd is absent. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Delat?
Yes.
Mr. Dufresne?
Yes.
Ms. Fel-
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Absolutely, yes.
Sure. All right, Harris?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
I support Paul, but I think I made it clear I was gonna be resigning off the board before the end of the year, so I think it'd probably be best if I support Paul Sawyer as a candidate wholeheartedly.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Rayford?
Yes.
All right. Yes, except for one abstaining.
All right. Look at it. Item number 6, direction to negotiate the final terms and condition of professional service contract. Do we have any comments on that? Okay. Any public comments? Okay, do I get a motion?
Motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Harrell and a second by Commissioner Rayford.
To do what? There's an option there on that agenda item.
It's number 6. It's direction to direct the legal counsel to negotiate the final terms and conditions of the professional service
Okay, who
contract.
made the motion and second?
Harrell and Rayford.
All right, thank you.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, has, and this might be more for Mr. Banks and in your executive committee, has Paul, y'all kind of worked together to come up with this draft, has Paul,
Yes.
that's what I wanted to ask, no big deal, yeah. Where you're not going back to the back and forth 6 times.
That's Larry's job.
Yeah, so we confident he's gonna accept the terms of this draft?
Right, the few little tweaks we put in there about, you know, the hours or whatever, that's like, knowing Paul, I can't speak for him, but I think it'll be an issue.
You know, it's not final until he absolutely signs the dotted line. But if I was a betting man, I would go with this. But, you know, I would, you know, that option that he could say, hey, I got something else. You know, that's a possibility.
Just a question, what we're doing is giving you the authority to negotiate a contract. So if there's something in there that needs to be changed, you are giving you the authority to do it and get it signed.
Well, I will not change,
Yeah,
I'm not,
I feel
let me,
comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna,
No.
I'm talking about the general terms and conditions, if there's something language in here that's problematic for him, but if we're changing any of the responsibilities, I'm coming back to the board, I'm making,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're changing the content and the narrative and
Yes.
all of that.
I'm not gonna do
Run
that.
that by us.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, grammatical, you know, spell check, narrative, you know, yes, please. So, Tony, we need a roll call on that.
You need a roll call on that?
Yes. That's an action item.
All right.
Number 6.
But I mean, we okay with him negotiating the little expense account portion that you're gonna add to this, right? Yeah, that's,
What I
you don't have to
propose,
come back to us for that.
I'm gonna propose the travel rules and regulations set forth by the state,
No.
and I'll
All right.
affect that in the language.
Let us take a look. I mean.
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
I'll share it with all the board members.
Okay, Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd is absent. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Quentin?
Yes.
Mr. Delat?
Yes.
Mr. Dufresne?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
I was saying again, but not because I don't support it, keeping it consistent.
Okay, Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Rayford?
Yes.
All right, passed.
All right, next item is consideration for termination of Water Institute agreement. So, do we have any discussion on this? Does anybody have any questions? All right, Commissioner Knight?
Done a fantastic job with the master plan, and I think they provide a separate angle of additional services that we should continue to keep the contract live and active. We don't necessarily have to use it, but I definitely don't think it's a good idea, that contract. Hold on to it as long as we can, we may need it.
Okay, I'd like to follow on that and say that, I do agree that they've been doing a really good job. It's been easy, they've made my job easy. And we want a smooth transition. In order, I believe in discussions in general with board members is that, we would like to keep the Water Institute on as long as possible. In order for, to kind of, where the Water Institute foster, the new contractor, Mr. Sawyer, and kind of learn the ropes a little bit, the lay of the land, and where the moving parts are, and the records and the assets and so to speak. And our Water Institute, Mr. Garvin Pittman, who's here, he gave us his vote of confidence, about this particular contractor, that he thought highly of him and thought it would be a great idea, and also, agreed to, help him as much as possible, as long as we need.
That was, from the executive committee, executive officer, that was Paul. That was one of the things that he was, asked specifically about, to make sure that Garland was gonna be here for transition. It was my understanding we had to give 30 days, but there's no minimum, I'm asking, there's no minimum on that contract, so like Ed said, we can keep it ongoing. There's no minimum on that, but we definitely want to have Garland in full access for the next 30 days for
The contract with the Water Institute agreement is very similar to this agreement, and it has a 30-day cancellation provision, and it is reimbursables. So lots of the functions that Paul Sawyer will be involved with were things that the Water Institute was delegated. So the total amount of money that's in the Water Institute, I'm sure will go substantially down, and it's a reimbursement for actual things done. So the coordination of those two things easily can be done. But if the board wanted to terminate the contract, you have an obligation 30 days.
Commissioner,
Is there an expiration on the Water Institute contract?
Yes, there is a total dollar amount.
But not a date it expires at a certain window of time?
You don't mean you run out of money before you run out
No,
of
I
money.
hear you, I was just making sure, if there was a date that we wouldn't have to change the contract.
So if you don't use them, you don't pay anything. The contract's enforced, but it's just not.
It's a reimbursable.
Reimbursable.
So he spends time, and it's a
Right.
scheduled amount for individuals doing different kinds of things.
Well, I move we just hold on to that contract and leave it effective and enforced in case we should ever need them for anything.
Commissioner.
Unless there's something I'm missing.
So, first and foremost, I want to thank Garvin for what he did and how he helped this commission in a time of transition. It was certainly very smooth, you stepping up and doing what you did, and the Water Institute and the people. I do have a budgetary question of concern, because what we're doing is replacing one with the other. And so I believe in the problem, it's critical that there is a crossover period, but budget-wise, we're expending public funds, which we don't have a lot of, and we don't have a steady stream of revenue that is reoccurring. So with that said, we just need to be mindful of how the budget is worked out and what's been approved budget-wise, and need to make amendments, or, these things need to be considered as we're spending public funds. That's my comment.
The magic with the Water Institute and Garvin in particular is that he's good. And so most of what he has done, we would have to pay him. But through the Watershed RCBG grant, the Region 9 Watershed Coordinator funding, it's $800,000 a year. And then also the funding from Act 170, for the man, that portion, there's a portion there. He puts his time forward and accounts for it and provides the support documentation that has passed muster with all of these state agencies. And essentially hasn't really cost us anything. So, we hope that Paul can be able to do that in the future too. So 250 may not be 250 from ARBC's account. If it is, there's gonna be some coming back. And hopefully down the road, we'll get something, our legislator, put some gas in the Cadillac that we can get on the road and sustain ourselves. Commissioner Neal.
Carmen, thank you. Seriously, job well done.
Commissioner Fleet.
Do we have to take any action on this, since there's no expiration date on it? Can we table it so we know what Mr. Sawyer may or may not?
Thus, no actions required, but I wanted you to be aware
We'll just leave
that there
it.
is a termination provision and you must give us 30 days notice.
I think that's a very good comment. Really.
Don't
Make a
get
motion.
ready.
Not to take it,
Okay.
table the issue.
Yeah,
Second.
yeah, okay. So, I got a motion by Commissioner Quintmall, second by Commissioner Harris to test, item number 7, consideration of termination of Water Institute.
In tabling, it means the contract stays is
Yes.
still in effect.
Yes.
No interruptions in the contract.
Yes.
Good.
Johnny, can I get a roll call?
All right, Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd? Is absent. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Delat?
Yes.
Mr. Dufresne?
Yes.
Ms. Polito?
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yeah.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
I was just here to make sure they have a
Abstain.
quorum, so I'll abstain.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Rayford?
Yes.
All right, thank y'all, passed.
All right.
You'll be done with me after this.
Okay, next item, general comments, any public comments, any general comments from all the board members in general? Like to hear, Commissioner Quintmall.
Yeah, I think it would behoove us to start outlining what our initiatives are in 2025. Deals in capital outlay, legislative initiatives, and other things that meeting in January is critical to the path that we're gonna move forward in 2025, getting off on the right foot. So, these all are commissioning about what those objectives are, where we're going as an organization, and what we need to put forth in front of our legislatures as well as for our capital outlay for funding and those type of items. That's it, thanks.
I agree, the power numbers and this organization of the board, we get organized and present ourselves as one, that makes a difference. Commissioner, O'Neill.
Kudos to all of you. Kudos to everybody here that attracted the talent and a candidate like Paul. It's a serious coup for ARB. It definitely signifies we mean business, so congratulations. Just wanted to put that on the record.
There's been a lot of chances that we could drop the ball, things could fall between the cracks, but we have a board of committed people who are not just in it for themselves, they're in it for the people they represent, people, local people, your moms, pops, grandmas, everybody, trying to make a difference for those people that know something's wrong, they don't know how to say it or who to say it to, we're that for them. And that's it, I appreciate it. Any more comments? Any public comments? Garvin, would you like to?
Sure.
Please.
To say on behalf of myself and the Water Institute, I'd like to thank y'all for allowing me to do the work that I've done for y'all. Like to thank me to continue to do this work. It's been a real pleasure to get to know y'all and to work with y'all. I think the hire of Paul Sawyer is a home run for this organization, and I happily would step down for him to do a better job for you than I was able to do. So thank you all very much.
Well, I don't know if you do a better job because you know about how I've ever dealt with it.
Thank you.
I would agree with that.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I think I've already made that motion prior.
I got a motion from Commissioner Delotte and a second from Commissioner.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.